on Y News. Drivers and commuters complain about the exact date of implementation of the 8 pesos minimum fare in public utility jeepneys. Meralco announces an increase in electric charges this month. President Rodrigo Duterte orders the release of delayed gratuity pay to contractual and job order government employees.
President Rodrigo Duterte appoints 21 members of the expanded Bangsamoro Transition Commission. Rescue workers race against time to save stranded whales in Golden Bay, New Zealand. And the Michelin Guide for France gives its sole new 3-star rating this year to a restaurant in the French Alps.
Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center, this is Y News with Angelo Castro III and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. The implementation of the 8 peso jeepney minimum fare takes effect today after the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, approved the 1 peso fare increase requested by some transport groups. Joanna will tell us why.
Public utility jeepneys across Metro Manila, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, and Mimaropa region have started implementing the 8 peso minimum fare. This was after the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, approved the fare hike petition filed by some transport groups. The agency reminds drivers that a notice of provisional fare should be posted inside their jeepneys to inform the passengers of said fare increase. LTFRB Chairman Martin Delgra also clarified that as of now, only provisional fare increase has been approved, and they are still studying the main petition to identify how much actual fare should be added. Meanwhile, rate of succeeding kilometers remains at 1 peso and 50 centavos. On the other hand, passengers also favor the implementation of the jeepney fare increase.
Okay lang. At least nakakatulong tayo sa driver, di ba?
Wala namang problema doon dahil kailangang itaas. Hindi natin mahahadlangan yon.
Last Monday, the LTFRB approved the petition for fare increase, wherein it was announced earlier that this would take effect on Wednesday but was moved to Friday. Several drivers were complaining that they are confused by the dates on the implementation of fare hike.
Sa pagkakalam ko, Lunes pa talaga. Magano yung 8 yung iba nagbabayad ng 8, yung iba city. Hindi na lang ako magreklamo kasi mamaya wala pa akong hinawakan na kung ano mang mawak kung galing doon sa taas.
Meron nung mga talagang mga driver na nalito, pero kasi mga pasero din nalilito rin.
Meanwhile, LTFRB also reminds drivers that the additional fare should not exceed to 1 peso and emphasize the 20% discount for students and senior citizens passengers. Joanna, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Meralco will implement an almost 1 peso rate hike this month. Manokson will tell us why.
Prior to the looming power rate hike in March due to the Mampaya shutdown, Meralco announces a power rate increase this month. 92 centavos per kilowatt hour will be the generation charge this February, equivalent to 184 pesos additional charge for households that consume 200 kilowatt hours per month, 276 pesos additional charge for 300 kilowatt consumption, 368 pesos for 400 kilowatt hour, and 460 pesos for those consuming 500 kilowatt per month. Meralco said energy cost has only gone back to its normal rate following the implementation of the one-time big-time rollback last January, brought about by the so-called annual outage allowance. But if compared to the last few years, there is no big difference in the generation charge costs in the month of February 2015, 2016, and 2017.
Nanggaling ho kasi tayo sa napakababang base. Kaya kung titingnan natin, kung hindi natin talaga susuriin na mabuti, iisipin natin na ang taas nung naging adjustment. Pero actually ho, if you will look at the overall average rates, halos parehas lang sa last year.
But the problem is, there is also a looming power rate hike come the month of March. 91 centavos is the estimated rate hike due to the Malampaya shutdown. To alleviate the burden of the rate hike on consumers, Meralco filed an appeal to the Energy Regulatory Commission requesting to stagger the 91 centavos in 3 months.
Gawing staggered para na sa ganun kahit paano naman ay magkaroon ng relief as far as the customers are concerned in terms of paying for a higher cost.
Meralco reminds the public to save on electricity and if possible to limit the use of air conditioning units. It is much better to use CFL or compact fluorescent lamps instead of using incandescent bulb and unplug appliances when not in use. If you want to monitor the use of electricity, you can avail the prepaid electricity program of Meralco like what Alexa did.
Yung sa postpaid po kasi, unlimited siya eh. Hindi mo alam kung mataas na yung ginagamit mo. Unlike sa prepaid, namomonitor mo siya. Kasi may nagtitext sa'yo everyday na yung consume mo is 10 pesos, 12 pesos, 20 pesos, ganito. Alam mo kung paano siya tipirin.
To those who want to avail the prepaid electricity service of Meralco, just call their hotline number 1622-7737. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines will build 2 new transmission lines in Bataan and Zambales soon. Joan Ano will tell us why.
NGCP Regional Communications Officer Ernest Vidal says 2 major transmission lines will soon be built in Hermosa Castillejos in Zambales and Hermosa San Jose in Nueva Ecija. The grids will have 500 kilometers voltage each and can supply electricity to coal-fired power plants in Bataan, Zambales, Central Luzon, and Metro Manila.
Para ma-accommodate yung additional generation na nagmumula po dito sa Bataan, Zambales, maipadala po natin sa Metro Manila at nang sa ganun ay magamit ng buong Luzon grid.
Vidal says the 2 provinces need big transmission lines since many companies are planning to establish plants in the areas. The project is still in the raw acquisition or pre-construction period and is expected to be finished in 2020. NGCP has already conducted an inventory of the landowners and structures that might be affected by the project. Joan Ano, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Caretakers of fish pens in Sector A of the Laguna de Bay insist that they are not using any firearms in guarding their facilities. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources and the Laguna Lake Development Authority or LLDA conducted an inspection earlier today on 15 structures beside private fish pens in Laguna de Bay. Representatives of the PNP Sector A of Laguna de Bay, Muntinlupa area, Philippine Coast Guard, and the Philippine Maritime Command took part in the inspection. The probe came after authorities received reports that armed men are guarding private fish pens in the lake.
Maraming karanasan ang mga mangisda, pag lumapit sila, pinaputukan sila. They're being fired or at times may mga incident na talagang nababaril ang mga tao. So, we are going on a massive campaign this time involving yung mga fisher folks.
LLDA says there's no need for a warrant of arrest in conducting the inspection of the structures since it's part of the agency's mandate to visit the Laguna Lake and ensure the safety and welfare of fishermen.
Wala talaga. Puro na mga takot sa akmas ng mga kwan. Kahit ka paputok, wala, bawal dito. Mapitis, bawal dito.
Wala man kami armas dito. Mag-duty man lang kami. Mag-grouping.
Meanwhile, DENR Undersecretary Arturo Valdez says the inspection is also part of their preparations for their next demolition of structures in the lake on February 14. The DENR also vows not to dismantle small fish pens owned by small fishermen. LLDA has strictly implemented since February 1 the moratorium it issued for the halt in the operation of aquacultural structures in the Laguna de Bay.
Ibig sabihin ay effective immediately, wala na hong bibigyan ng kahit anong clearance, wala na hong i-renew na kahit anong permit. Basta hong pinag-uusapan ay fish pen sa Laguna de Bay. Ibig sabihin din ho, bawal nang maglagay ng bagong stock at bawal magtayo ng bagong structure sa Laguna de Bay.
Operators are also given until March 21 to dismantle their fish pens. The structures cover more than 13,000 square meters of the lake. During the inspection, authorities found no firearms from the caretakers of the private fish pens. However, they vowed to hold liable anyone found violating the rules in their next inspection. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
The mining industry supports the minerals industry coordinating council's move to review the decision of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources to suspend and close down mining operations in the country. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
Several mining executives and workers as well as pro-mining advocates are in agreement as they are all dismayed over the decision of DNR Secretary Gina Lopez to order the closure and suspension of 23 mining operations across the country. Global Ferronickel Holdings believes Lopez's decision was just based on emotion. The mining company explains the siltation happening around the area where they operate is due to soil erosion caused by successive rains. The company was also surprised to be included in the list of companies subject for closure as they have passed the mining audit of the DNR. Meanwhile, Oceanic Gold Philippines argues that DNR's decision will definitely affect many indigenous people such as Ifogaos who depend on mining as their livelihood. Rose is among those who claim to have successful livelihood due to the mining operation in Hinatuan. Aside from having a livelihood, the residents near the mining area were able to have electricity, get schooling, and avail of services from medical missions. The Philippine Stocks Exchange or PSA meanwhile says Secretary Lopez's announcement has impacted the trading and has caused significant adjustments in nickel prices in the world market. Likewise, mining operations have not yet received any suspension or closure order from the DNR. Thus, the group of mining companies expresses support over the move of the Minerals Industry Coordinating Council to conduct a review of the decision of the DNR.
Due process requires that the accused, the party affected, be given the opportunity to present evidence on his side, that there be some sort of hearing where both parties are heard.
The group has expressed support over Malacanang's stance to follow due process in terms of addressing the concerns on mining after appealing to President Rodrigo Duterte against Lopez's decision. Secretary Lopez meanwhile said she's leaving it up to President Duterte to give the final decision on the closure and suspension of the mining operations. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Taguig City.
Around 50 million pesos worth of fake electronic items were destroyed by authorities in Manila this morning. Aga Kakbay will tell us why.
Through an order from Manila Regional Trial Court, Branch 24, authorities destroyed thousands of fake electronic items this morning seized by National Bureau of Investigation or NBI operatives in March last year. Some 50 million peso worth of counterfeit speakers, amplifiers, and other electronic items were destroyed at the Manila Harbor Center today.
Ang order kasi ng court is to destruction and destroy these items. Lahat yan with the applicant and the sheriff of the court.
The sheriff adds that the confiscated items in Raon, Quiapo came from China. He further notes that the RTC's decision will help consumers upon the reduction and prevention of counterfeit items spreading in the market.
Deterrent na rin sa kanila, sayang din pera nila di ba? Magagawa sila ng ganyang peke, then masisira lang, sayang naman, di ba?
A businessman whose products are being forged has reminded consumers that the quality of original items is far from that of fake ones, which are cheaper yet easily breakable.
Mismo brand namin ginagamit, pero kaya maapektuhan din ang quality namin. Kasi yung iba 3 days, 1 week sira na. Kaya napupunta sa amin, pinapa-service.
Aga Kakbay, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The CIDG Anti-Transnational Crime Unit arrested in Manila this morning a woman who is allegedly involved in a pyramiding scam. Dea Lagan will tell us why.
Rodora
Comedes is facing charges of large-scale staff for operating a pyramiding scam in Baguio City and nearby areas. CIDG-ATCU Police Superintendent Roque Merdihia Jr. says Comedes was arrested in a restaurant at the Gets Hotel in Tayuman, Santa Cruz, Manila. Merdihia explained that together with her accomplice identified as Julia Frianza, the suspect who regularly changes her name was able to swindle a huge amount of money from her victims.
Lumalabas malaking grupo ito, hanggang 5 tao ata ito. Kasi nagtayo sila ng opisina doon sa Baguio.
The police official adds that Comedes Group has been operating since 2013. Her modus operandi is to collect money from victims. After collecting the money, the suspects disappear to avoid paying them the promised monthly interest.
Mag-invest ka, sa loob ng isang buwan ay tutubo ka ng 20 to 30%. No? Minsan nga, linggo lang. No? At meron pang magbigay ka ng 1 milyon mahigit, bibigyan ka ng Fortuner or Montero.
The CIDG-ATCU calls on the victims of Comedes to come forward and file complaints against the suspect. The CIDG reminds the public to never believe promises of huge interest rates and to be careful in investing money to avoid being victimized by syndicates.
Sinabi na aming direktor ni Sir Ubusan na sa mga Pilipino wag basta maniwala doon sa easy to get rich scheme na nangangako ng biglaang pagyaman, ano?
The arrest came after the La Trinidad Benguet RTC Brand 62 Judge Danilo Camacho's issuance of a warrant of arrest against the suspect. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue Camp Krami.
Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte has issued an administrative order number 2, ordering all agencies and offices of the government to release the bonus or gratuity pay for employees under job orders, contracts of service, and project-based scheme. Workers who have rendered a total of at least 4 months of satisfactory service as of December 2016 may be granted a one-time gratuity pay not exceeding 2,000 pesos. Meanwhile, those who have rendered for a shorter period may also be granted not exceeding 1,000 pesos. This order covers workers who are employed under national government agencies or NGAs, state universities and colleges, government-owned and controlled corporations, and government financial institutions. The President encourages local government units to adopt in their jurisdictions the grant of gratuity pay to workers whose services are engaged through job orders and contracts of service.
Next in Y News. President Rodrigo Duterte appeals anew for support to the reimposition of the death penalty bill.
A total of 99 policemen who tested positive of illegal drugs use have been dismissed from service.
Y News will be right back. President Rodrigo Duterte has signed the appointment papers of the 21 members of the expanded Bangsamoro Transition Commission. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process Secretary Jesus Dureza confirms that President Rodrigo Duterte has just released the appointment papers of the 21 members of the expanded Bangsamoro Transition Commission. The BTC is the commission mandated to craft the new Bangsamoro Enabling Law, or more commonly known before as Bangsamoro Basic Law. The crafting of the Bangsamoro Enabling Law is part of the implementation process of the Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro signed between the Philippine government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front in March 2014. BTC is also tasked to draft proposed amendments in the Constitution if necessary. 11 members were chosen by the MILF implementing panel, while the other 10 were chosen by the government, constituting the 21-member BTC. The government assured that these people have good track records, well capacitated, and are committed to listening to the voices of all sectors who want lasting peace in Mindanao. The government also said the peace tables will be inclusive, or all sectors will be given the opportunity to speak out on public issues. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The lower house is amenable to some provisions of the death penalty reimposition bill. There is also a possibility that proposed list of crimes punishable by death may be reduced to 13 from 21. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The number of crimes under the death penalty reimposition bill may possibly be reduced. This was after the Majority Coalition caucus last Wednesday when the House leadership said it is open to any amendments in the provisions of the bill.
The leadership is amenable to it, no? To reduce it to yung talagang heinous lang talaga.
Under House Bill number 4727, there are 21 crimes punishable by death. But in the possible substitute bill, it will be reduced to only 13 crimes. These include drugs-related crimes such as importation, maintenance of den, manufacturing and planting of evidence, murder, kidnapping, carnapping, and rape. From death penalty, the sentence for possession of illegal drugs amounting from 10 grams to 50 grams was reduced to reclusion perpetua. But death penalty may be imposed for possession of more than 50 grams. Marijuana will not be included in the said provision.
Wala nang death penalty yung marijuana, so it will revert back to the existing law, which is dangerous drugs.
The chairman of the House Committee on Justice, Congressman Reynaldo Umali, refuted allegation of conflict of interest on the removal of plunder from the list of crimes punishable by death.
Pero kasi pag-plunder, what you are talking of are pera, no? Unlike yung iba, life talaga, and yung, di ba, rape, murder, kidnapping, there is really, it's a crime against the person.
The substitute bill for the reimposition of death penalty may possibly be released next week. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
President Rodrigo Duterte insists that death penalty is an effective deterrence to crime. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte was guest of honor at the 5th Manila Times Business Forum in Davao City. He was conferred with the Man of the Year Award for 2016, which according to him is the only award he received in his entire political career. In his speech, the president stresses that the death penalty is an effective tool against criminality. He says Bureau of Correction records show that before the death penalty was suspended, there were only 189 persons convicted of heinous crimes, but when its imposition was set aside, the number rose to 6,200 or an increase of more than 3,000%.
An increase of 3,000. Tapos sabihin nila hindi deterrent. Ngayon wala nang death penalty 3,000. Sabi nila na nandoon man yung death penalty, wala man nangyari. Hindi kasi ako ang presidente. Ibalik mo yan, ako ang presidente. Gawain kong kurtina yung mga buang dyan sa puno.
The proposal to revive the imposition of death penalty is still being deliberated in Congress. Meanwhile, the president once again criticized the former president of Colombia for its statement against the anti-drug war of Duterte, stating that it is bound to also fail. The chief executive stresses that he is not stupid to commit the same mistake that happened in Colombia. On the other hand, he praised China for the help it is extending to the Philippines, like putting up a mega drug rehabilitation center. The president also made it clear that he is making friends with China because the Philippines is not ready to wage war against a superpower. However, he pointed out that during his term, he will have to discuss with China the arbitral ruling on the West Philippine Sea dispute favoring our nation.
The only way is to talk. But I told them straight, Mr. President, there will be a time during my term that we have to talk about the arbitral judgment. But it cannot be now. Let us first be friends so that we can talk in a more civilized, non-hostile attitude.
Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Davao City.
The Office of the Solicitor General supports a grant of state protection to the survivor and the relatives of victims killed in Oplan, Tokhang in Payatas, Quezon City last August 2016. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The survivor and relatives of 4 victims killed in Tokhang operation in Payanas, Quezon City in August last year are almost assured of permanent protection against police harassment. In a hearing at the Court of Appeals earlier today, the Office of the Solicitor General did not oppose the writ of amparo petition filed against policemen of QCPD Station 6. The OSG, appearing as counsel for the respondent policemen, stated that there is no reason for them to oppose the petition. In fact, the petition is unnecessary because it is the given duty of the state to protect the people.
It is the constitutional and legal duty of the state and its officers to protect and guarantee the right of every citizen to life, liberty, and security. So that's the reason why we did not oppose it. And we joined the petitioners in giving protection to them. We would look stupid if we will oppose that. Ang trabaho namin, hindi namin gampanan.
The policemen agreed to the position taken by the OSG, but this doesn't mean they are admitting guilt for the death of the victims.
The issue on culpability, kung may kasalanan ba o hindi, that cannot be traced out in a petition for writ of amparo. Dapat yung mga tungkol sa guilt or culpability sa ibang sa korte na yon o sa ibang forum.
The petitioners have mixed emotions on the position taken by the government counsel, not only because it speed up the proceedings, but because the policemen admitted most of their allegations.
The gesture by the OSG, basically they did not deny, or they actually admitted that there is a merit to our petition. So the agreement was our petition was meritorious. It's just a matter of the specific details of the protection order and other reliefs.
The petitioner might also use this to boost the criminal charges they are preparing against the policemen.
They do not deny that they went back to the area after the incident to take videos of the house without a search warrant. They also do not deny that they killed the victims.
Meanwhile, the QCPD director has assured that they are faithfully complying with the temporary protection order issued by the Supreme Court in favor of the petitioners. The 4 policemen are now reassigned to the district headquarters support unit.
Doon sila doing menial jobs while being investigated. Of course, meron sila mga trabaho doon, sentinel duties, but well, that is one of the measures or actions that we have done when we received the notice of that petition.
The CA has terminated the proceedings and is expected to issue a decision in 10 days. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Philippine National Police Internal Affairs Service General Inspector Attorney Alfegar Tiambulo says PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa has already signed the dismissal recommendation for errant cops. Today, 99 policemen who were tested positive of using illegal drugs were dismissed from service. Aside from the said policemen, 40 others are also recommended to be discharged from service due to similar offenses. The number of cops that might be dismissed from service might further increase as PNP's mandatory drug testing of its personnel continues.
Kasi isa lang ebidensya dito, yung confirmatory test. Kung hindi nila ma-resolve po yun, kaya walang pag-usapan dito eh. Due process lang ibibigay, talagang dismiss po sila.
The PNP Internal Affairs Service targets to complete its probe on high-profile cases of erring police by the end of March. Leah Ilagan will tell us why.
The PNP Internal Affairs Service will submit to Chief PNP Police Director General Ronald Bato de la Rosa next month its recommendation and draft decision on the case against Police Superintendent Marvin Marcos and 17 other policemen involved in the killing of Albuera Leyte Mayor Rolando Espinosa Sr. ES also targets to submit in March the result of their investigation on the G.I.G.Ju kidnap slay case involving the group of SPO3 Ricky Santa Isabel. The alleged errant cops are all facing grave misconduct charges on administrative case.
Pag sinabing grave misconduct, dismissible po yon. Pag sinabing serious neglect of duty, yung command responsibility, under the NAPOLCOM rules, ang penalty po dyan ay dismissal from the service.
Attorney Triangulo further adds that the chief PNP has 30 days to study the said recommendation. The policemen who will be removed from service can still file an appeal before the Regional Appellate Court of the National Police Commission until their cases reach the Supreme Court.
So 4 lang na commissioner civilian po yan, yung regular commissioner ng NAPOLCOM. Pagkatapos noon, kung matalo siya, mag-apila pa rin yon. Dahil hindi kasama si secretary, appeal po yon sa secretary. And then kung talo po sa secretary, pupunta po din yon sa civil service, court of appeals hanggang makapunta ng Supreme Court.
He noted that the reinstatement of the dismissed policemen would be up to the commissioners, which explain how some cops are able to return to service despite their involvement in some cases. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue Camp Krami.
The prison official who issued a confidential memo which allegedly contained Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre's instruction to allow high-profile inmates detained at the AFP Custodial Center to access cell phone has been ordered to rectify and clarify the error in his report. In an order issued a month earlier before the said confidential memo was leaked, Justice Undersecretary Reynante Orseo called the attention of Bucor Legal Office Chief Attorney Alvin Herrera Lim to clarify the part of the report wherein Aguirre supposedly instructed PNP and Bucor personnel to allow inmates to use electronic gadgets in return for their testimony during the congressional hearing on the proliferation of illegal drugs inside the New Bilibid prison. Secretary Aguirre dismisses the allegation as hearsay and lashes at Lim, whom he says was convicted of administrative case and has 2 other pending administrative cases due to grave misconduct.
Senator De Lima should know that the above statement is an absolute hearsay, and we know that hearsay has no evidentiary value. Hindi dapat paniwalaan yan. Basahin po ninyo, hindi ba hearsay yan? Sapagkat yan ay sinabi lamang sa kanya ng ibang tao nang wala naman siyang pinipresenta kahit anong statement coming from other persons who allegedly said this.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines maintains that it has no plan to revise a memorandum of understanding it signed with DOJ and Bucor on the management of the AFP Custodial Center. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The AFP has already submitted to the Department of Justice or DOJ its findings on the alleged entry of communication gadgets inside the AFP Detention and Custodial Center. The AFP says the DOJ and the Bucor are in charge of the administration and management of the inmates inside the AFP Detention and Custodial Center based on their memorandum of understanding. There are 3 points stated in the recommendation of the AFP and the DOJ. First is the confiscation of all communication equipment smuggled into and attached to the said facility. Second is the tighter enforcement of security. Third is the immediate installation of closed security television.
Isinapormal na namin sa kanila ang pagsasubmit. And being both agencies of government, it is incumbent upon us to report to them kung anong observation na meron tayo. So far, ang nakita natin ay yung mga gadgets na sinasabi natin na plasma TV, I believe air conditioning units, etc., which are not supposed to be there.
Colonel Arevalo also noted there's nothing wrong with the memorandum of agreement the AFP signed with the DOJ and the Bucor. That's why there's no reason to revise it because of the said issue. The AFP is now waiting for the response of the DOJ to its recommendations. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Benguet Provincial Office has filed formal charges against 3 suspected members of the New People's Army who set ablaze 2 mining trucks in Sitio Tampak, Ambucao, Benguet Province yesterday. The respondents were identified as Antonio Cabalce, Sara Abelon, and Marciano Pason Sagun. The charges filed include arson, robbery, and multiple murder without bail. The suspects are now under the custody of Benguet Police. Authorities are also in pursuit of 2 others involved in the incident. Local authorities are in full alert to ensure the safety of residents and tourists, especially in Baguio City after the incident. The military pact between the Philippines and United States of America may possibly be scrapped if America will go to war in the South China Sea, says Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana regards the statements made by the chief strategist and advisor of U.S. President Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, very troubling. It was reported that Bannon said in March 2016 that the U.S. plans to go into war in the South China Sea in 5 to 10 years. Secretary Lorenzana says if there will be conflict between U.S. and China, the Philippines might be subjected to retaliations since many American troops are based in the Philippines.
Because, we could just go ahead and say, let's forget about EDCA, because if there are basing here, even if temporary or not, there will be magnets for retaliation by whoever is against the United States.
It has been 2 years since the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA, was signed to expand the mutual defense treaty between the two countries. It allows the basing of more American troops and prepositioning of supplies in Philippine bases in light of Beijing's occupation of several islands in the contested South China Sea. Secretary Lorenzana said the Philippines would consider scrapping the EDCA to avoid a repeat of World War II, wherein the Philippines was badly affected for its association with the U.S. He adds that even if Manila kept its alliance with the U.S., the Philippines will not be able to help Washington militarily.
We are very ill-equipped. If they go to war, we cannot help them. What will we do? What will we use? The second-hand ships that they gave us? They're useless.
This was also the statement of President Rodrigo Duterte, and so he ordered the U.S. Armed Forces to cease alleged unloading of arms in the country.
That I would not allow my people to needlessly die. That would really, at the end of the day, I would be the worst president. Kung gamitin ko. Ganon talaga eh. Naghahanap siya ng gulo. Gusto niyang pumasok. They're planning an expedition. Go ahead. We will not participate.
A slight tension began to develop in the Philippines-U.S. relations when President Duterte assumed office because of former President Barack Obama's critical stance on Duterte's war on drugs. Meanwhile, the relationship of China and the Philippines took a turn for the better as President Duterte even befriended Russian President Vladimir Putin. However, he clarified that he has no plans of having military alliances with the two countries. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
New York governor urges people to stay off the snowy roads. Sunny Cos will tell us why.
The fiercest storm of the winter slammed the northeastern United States on Thursday, leaving a foot of 30 centimeters of snow in places, forcing cancellations of thousands of flights and closing schools. The storm had a wind gust of up to 50 miles per hour and left roads and sidewalks dangerously slick in densely populated cities such as New York, Boston, and Philadelphia. New York was expecting 10 to 14 inches or 25 to 36 centimeters of snow, and blizzards warning were in effect for New York's eastern Long Island suburbs.
This is a potentially dangerous situation. I would urge all motorists, especially on Long Island, to if you have to be out on the road, if you really have to be out on the road, do whatever you have to do it early and get off the road. I would encourage business owners to consider closing early, especially on Long Island, to let people out early so they're not on the roads at that 5 or 6 hour when things are going to be difficult.
All flights to New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport were halted on Thursday morning due to the storm's intensity. More than half of the flights into or out of the 3 major New York area airports were canceled.
I've been on the roads. I am telling you, the roads are dangerous.
Sonicus, UNTV News and Rescue, New York, USA.
The United Nations appeal for financial support for conflict-torn Yemen. Meanwhile, in a phone call with Chinese President Xi Jinping, U.S. President Donald Trump agrees to honor one China policy. Amel Pascual will tell us why.
In America, 2 people were injured when an explosion occurred at a Louisiana pipeline Thursday night. St. Charles Parish officials said 6 people were working near the Phillips 66 pipeline when it exploded and caught fire near the Williams Discovery natural gas process plant in Paradise, about 29 miles or 46.7 kilometers west of New Orleans. The 2 injured sustained burns, with 1 sustaining serious burns and being transported to burn unit at Baton Rouge. A search is underway for another person who is unaccounted for. 60 homes have been evacuated. In Yemen, the United Nations reports that 21 million people in Yemen are facing the threat of famine brought on by 2-year civil war, and the situation is rapidly deteriorating. Thus, it appeals for $2.1 billion to provide food and other life-saving aid, saying that Yemen's economy and institutions are collapsing and its infrastructures have been devastated. An estimated 63,000 Yemeni children died last year of preventable causes often linked to malnutrition, the UN Children's Fund UNICEF said last week. And in China on Friday confirms that U.S. President Donald Trump has talked to Chinese President Xi Jinping and states that his administration would respect the One China policy during a telephone call between the leaders. According to China state television, Trump stresses that he fully understands the significant importance of the U.S. government abiding One China policy. The call was described as cordial, with both leaders expressing best wishes to their peoples. According to a statement, President Trump and President Xi extended invitations to meet in their respective countries and look forward to further talks with very successful outcomes. Amiel Pascual, UNTV News and Rescue, Asia.
Rescuers race to save hundreds of pilot whales at New Zealand's picturesque Golden Bay in one of the country's largest recorded mass strandings. Jessica Eslava will tell us why.
Rescuers are racing to save hundreds of pilot whales in New Zealand's picturesque Golden Bay on Friday, February 10th, after one of the country's largest recorded mass whale strandings. Up to 300 whales have died, and volunteers are trying to send more than 100 others back out to sea. A conservation department worker noticed the whales washed ashore on Thursday evening, but a government agency decided against a night rescue effort for fear volunteers would be injured by the whales in the darkness. Reports say volunteers had managed to refloat some of the whales during high tide, but most were quickly stranded as the tide ebbed. The event was New Zealand's largest known whale stranding since 1985, when 450 were stranded in Auckland.
Yeah, this is the 3rd largest mass stranding that we've recorded in our history, and so it's a very large one. Logistically, it's a massive undertaking. The whales started stranding last night, around about 10 o'clock last night. We were notified of that, and then this morning when they went out and checked on them, most of the whales were already dead.
Whales often get stuck at Golden Bay, a remote but popular holiday area at the top of New Zealand's South Island. The bay's shallow waters make it difficult for whales to return to deeper water, according to marine life rescue organization Jonah Watch. Jessica Eslava, UNTV News and Rescue, Christchurch, New Zealand.
England is determined to topple Wales in a match with a new lineup. Meanwhile, the president of the Union of European Football Associations makes some reform. Aaron Romero tells us why.
Future UEFA presidents will be limited to a maximum of 3 terms and a total of 12 years in the job, European soccer's governing body says. Past presidents of the organization had no such restrictions, with former chief Leonard Johansson in charge for a full 17 years.
As you see, current situation is that we don't have any term limits. We only have an age limit of 70. And the new proposal is that UEFA president and UEFA executive committee members may now only serve for maximum of 3 terms of 4 years, and any partial term of office shall count as 1 full term.
Current President Alexander Seferin, who replaced disgraced Frenchman Michel Platini in September, has pledged to reform the organization. In cycling, Max Stockel, aka Mad Max, breaks the world record speed for standard mountain bikes on gravel in the Atacama Desert. The 42-year-old Austrian has reached a high speed of over 167 kilometers per hour on his run down a mountain in the Chilean desert. Stockel created his first speed record of 187 kilometers per hour on snow in Les Arcs in 1999. Beating his performance in the Chilean Andes in 2007 with over 210 kilometers per hour. And in rugby, England will field one of their most callow ever back row combinations against a vastly experienced Welsh trio in their second Six Nations match in Cardiff on tomorrow. The showdown will be a huge test for England's back row after their struggles against a powerful French unit last week.
Well, we're prepared to win. You know, we're prepared for any shenanigans that might go on, and we're looking forward to it. You know, I think we're bloody excited about playing there, to be honest.
Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
Another intense match awaits UNTV Cup fans on Sunday. Bernard Dadis will tell us why.
Practice hard, tapos talagang pagigihin yung depensa at pairali namin yung dati naming aggressiveness. Yung nung unang pangalawang nag-champion kami, tsaka yung nag-unang nag-champion kami, gano'n lang. So siguro double time sa depensa, tsaka kailangan mabawasan yung lapses eh.
It's all systems go for two-time champion Judiciary Magis as they face the threat of three-time runner-up PNP responders. With a twice-to-beat advantage, the Magis will be led by former professional basketball players Don Camaso, Warren Ibanez, Julius Rabino, and Chester Tolomia. The former champs are determined to win a ticket towards the finals and to finally claim the much-coveted Season 5 trophy.
Talagang pinursigi ng mga players namin na nagtulong-tulong. Maganda yung namin, mataas ang moral. Sana magtuloy-tuloy, makarating sa finals.
On the other hand, the PNP responders can force a do-or-die game against the Magis in a bid to reach the finals for the fourth time if they win on Sunday. For this, the Cup's head coach Ernie Santa Cruz will gear up his team as they face a strong opponent.
Depensa, definitely depensa. So doon kami pupunta. Depensa.
With strong determination, the responders promise to give the Magis a challenging hardcourt battle.
Konti na lang. So siguro trabaho pang uli kami, work hard pa rin kami. At the same time, yung kumpiyansa ng players medyo tumaas ng konti. So dadagdagan pa namin yung trabaho namin para sa against Judiciary.
Witness another intense hoop action as the PNP responders takes on the Judiciary Magis on Sunday, 5 p.m. at Pasig City Sports Center to be aired live on UNTV with live streaming via UNTVweb.com. Bernard Dadis for the UNTV Cup Season 5.
The Michelin Guide for France gives its sole new 3-star rating this year to Le 1947, a restaurant in the French Alps run by chef Yannick Alieno. June Garin will tell us why.
A 3-star restaurant as defined by the Michelin Guide is worth traveling to by a long drive or perhaps even by plane. Foodies might have to travel far and high to reach the sole new addition to the list of French restaurants with 3 Michelin stars as designated by the 2017 guide. Le 1947 is perched in the ski town of Courchevel in the French Alps and is owned by LVMH magnate Bernard Arnault, who consecrated space in the luxury resort, the Chauvel Blanc, for the culinary vision of chef Yannick Alno.
L'image de mon rêve, lui dire un restaurant aujourd'hui de montagne devrait ressembler à ça. La cuisine que j'aimerais exprimer, c'est celle-ci. Il m'a dit, écoutez Yannick, nous allons le faire ici.
Michelin Guide's international director Michael Ellis said Alno's cuisine in the Courchevel restaurant manages to turn local produce into the sublime. Ellie said Alno's work revolves around the principle of a vertical column, wherein the different elements of a dish are harmonized with the primary pillar being the sauce. His creations are known for merging taste with dietary benefits.
Je me suis entêté de faire des sauces modernes, plus légères, avec des nouvelles techniques et autres. Et donc on a aujourd'hui la faculté de produire des assiettes extraordinaires, de pureté. Je crois que la sauce, c'est 80% de l'intérêt d'une assiette. C'est le verbe de la cuisine française. C'est grâce à la sauce que les éléments se parlent dans une assiette et c'est grâce à la sauce que l'on peut apprécier un grand vin. Et donc c'est ce que j'ai compris et que je me suis efforcé de faire et de transmettre à mes équipes.
The criteria for a Michelin star include high-quality products, fine cooking, consistency of the meals and service, and the chef's personality reflected in the cuisine. Le Clarence in Paris' swanky 8th district was awarded 2 stars a year after it opened. Housed in a 19th century mansion owned by Prince Robert of Luxembourg, its chef Christophe Pelle offers contemporary cuisine inspired by classical cooking.
En tout cas, en émotion, on donne de l'amour, non? C'est pas ça, non? Un cuisinier, c'est ce que ça donne enfin, ce qu'il a dans son intérieur. Donc voilà, c'est ce que au quotidien, on essaye de faire. Donc c'est de la générosité, de l'amour, voilà, de la passion. Voilà, quoi donner de plus? C'est déjà énorme, quoi, non?
The Michelin Guide France 2017 features 616 restaurants, and 70 of them have just earned 1 or more stars. Gerry, UNTV News and Rescue, Paris, France.
Alright, happy weekend, Darlene. Another week.
Yeah, happy weekend too, sir.
To all the staff of Boy News, enjoy your weekend. So those are the reasons behind the news. February 10, 2017. I'm Angelo, Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene, Basingan.
Because we need to know. We will always ask why. Thank you for watching Boy News.